Europe is a continent stitched together from fairy tale villages, alpine peaks, and coastlines that look painted rather than photographed. Today we count down the 20 most beautiful places on the entire map. From quiet Nordic fjords to sun-baked Mediterranean cliffs, every stop on this list has earned its place through pure visual wonder. So settle in, relax, and let the journey unfold. We move from hidden corners, barely known outside their own countries, to the icons that grace a million postcards. Consider this your slow, unhurried grand tour of the continent. Save this video for your future trip planning, and stick around, because the final 3 picks are simply unmatched. Let us begin our countdown at number 20. Number 20 is Giethoorn, a Dutch village with no roads at all, only quiet canals threading between thatched roof farmhouses. Locals get around entirely by small, flat-bottomed boats. The village dates back to the 1200s, founded by refugees who dug the peat that later became these very canals. Arched wooden footbridges hop over the water every few hundred feet, each one a perfect little photo opportunity. Gardens spill right down to the waterline in every direction. The village earned the nickname Venice of the North, though it moves at a much slower, sleepier pace. Punting a boat here feels like drifting through a storybook. Reed-thatched roofs top nearly every home, a tradition tied to the surrounding wetlands and peat bogs. The whole scene looks unchanged for well over a century. Autumn turns the canal banks gold and rust, doubling the color in the still water below. Winter sometimes freezes the canals solid enough to skate across. Giethoorn proves that beauty does not need mountains or oceans. Sometimes a quiet canal and a thatched roof are more than enough. It is a gentle place to begin our list. Number 19 is Ronda, an Andalusian town split dramatically in two by a 100-meter-deep gorge. A single stone bridge holds the whole scene together. Ernest Hemingway once wrote about the town, and the surrounding La Serranía de Ronda mountains still feel just as wild as they did in his stories. The Puente Nuevo Bridge took over 4 decades to build, and still looks impossibly perched above the canyon floor. Cliffside houses seem to grow straight out of the rock. Below the bridge, the El Tajo Gorge plunges past waterfalls and wild green cliffs carved by the Guadalquivir River. Hiking trails drop down for a completely different view upward. Ronda also claims one of Spain's oldest bull rings, a graceful ring of white stone arches dating to the 1700s. The old town wraps around narrow, whitewashed lanes nearby. Sunset here turns the gorge walls a deep orange, while lights begin flickering on across the valley floor. Few views in Spain feel this theatrical. Ronda has drawn poets and painters for centuries, and standing on that bridge at dusk, it is easy to understand exactly why. Number 18 is Lake Bled, a glacial lake in the Julian Alps, with a tiny island church floating almost impossibly at its center. Snow-capped peaks ring the entire basin. Legend says a countess once had church bells cast and lost in the lake, and locals still claim you can hear faint ringing from deep beneath the surface. A wooden pletna boat is the traditional way to reach the island, rowed by hand across the impossibly still mint-green water. Ringing the church bell there is said to grant a wish. Above it all, Bled Castle clings to a cliff, the oldest castle in Slovenia, and still watching over the lake after more than 1,000 years. The view from its ramparts is unbeatable. Summer brings swimmers and paddleboarders skimming across the surface, while autumn wraps the surrounding forest in deep amber and red. Every season paints the lake differently. A quiet footpath circles the entire lake. Roughly 4 miles of pine forest, lakeside cafes, and constantly shifting angles on that little island church. Bled feels almost too perfectly composed to be real, yet it sits quietly in the Alps, waiting for anyone willing to make the trip. Number 17 is Met-i Or Ah, where Greek Orthodox monasteries balance on top of towering sandstone pillars rising straight out of the Thessalian plain. It looks like something from another world entirely. Its name literally means suspended in the air, a fitting description for monasteries that seem to defy gravity itself, hundreds of feet above the valley floor. Monks began building here in the 14th century, hauling materials up sheer cliffs, using rope baskets and rickety wooden ladders. 6 monasteries still remain active and open to visitors today. The rock formations themselves were shaped over millions of years by wind, water, and ancient seismic shifts. Their smooth, rounded silhouettes glow orange at sunrise and sunset. Inside the monasteries, centuries-old frescoes cover the walls, depicting saints and biblical scenes in rich Byzantine color. Bells still ring out across the valley each morning. Hiking trails wind between the pillars, offering views straight down onto the monasteries, perched hundreds of feet above the plain below. It is a serious test for anyone afraid of heights. Meteora blends raw geology with centuries of devotion, and few places on Earth combine the two so strikingly. Number 16 is Chamonix, tucked beneath the towering north face of Mont Blanc, the highest peak in Western Europe. The valley has drawn climbers and skiers for over 2 centuries. It hosted the very first Winter Olympics back in 1924, cementing its place as the birthplace of modern alpine sport. The Aiguille du Midi cable car climbs nearly 12,000 feet in under 20 minutes, delivering riders to a viewing platform surrounded by jagged, icy summits. Glaciers spill down from the peaks in slow, cracked rivers of blue-white ice, visible right from the edges of town. The Mer de Glace is the largest in all of France. In summer, wildflower meadows and hiking trails replace the ski runs, and the same mountains that draw skiers in winter pull hikers all season long. The town itself stays charmingly low-key, all wooden chalets and mountain cafes, letting the surrounding peaks do most of the talking. Chamonix earns its reputation as the birthplace of alpinism, and one look at Mont Blanc at sunrise explains exactly why. Number 15 is Edinburgh, a city built across extinct volcanic hills and crowned by a castle that has watched over it for nearly 1,000 years. Few skylines feel this dramatic. Each August, the city transforms for the Fringe Festival, the largest arts festival on Earth, filling every close and courtyard with performers. Edinburgh Castle sits atop a sheer volcanic crag, visible from nearly every corner of the city below. Its ramparts have hosted sieges, royalty, and centuries of Scottish history. The medieval Old Town winds along the Royal Mile, all cobblestone alleys, hidden closes, and towering stone tenements packed shoulder to shoulder. It feels frozen somewhere in the 18th century. Just across the valley, the elegant Georgian Newtown offers wide boulevards and grand architecture, a striking contrast to the old town's medieval tangle. Climbing Arthur's Seat, the extinct volcano at the city's edge, rewards hikers with a sweeping view over rooftops, the castle, and the Firth of Forth beyond. Edinburgh mixes ancient stone and dramatic geology like almost nowhere else in Britain, and the skyline only gets better after dark. Number 14 is the Faroe Islands, an isolated archipelago of 18 islands scattered in the North Atlantic between Iceland and Norway. Green cliffs drop straight into the sea from every direction. Locals here speak a language descended directly from Old Norse, one of the closest living links to the tongue of the original Viking settlers. Grass-roofed houses dot the hillsides, some so thoroughly covered in turf they nearly vanish into the landscape around them. Sheep outnumber people here by a wide margin. Waterfalls tumble directly off sea cliffs into the ocean below, most famously at Mulafossur, where a single farmhouse sits impossibly close to the falling water. Fog rolls through the fjords constantly, revealing and hiding the jagged peaks in a slow, shifting rhythm that photographers travel across the world to catch. But we have not even reached the halfway point of this list yet, and the destinations still ahead only get more dramatic from here. Few places on Earth feel this remote and this beautiful at the exact same time, which is precisely why the Faroe Islands keep climbing every travel list. Number 13 is Prague, a city of red rooftops, Gothic spires, and a medieval bridge that has carried travelers across the Vltava River for over 600 years. The city somehow survived both world wars almost entirely undamaged, which is exactly why its Gothic and Baroque skyline still looks so remarkably intact today. Prague Castle looms over the city from Hradčany Hill, the largest ancient castle complex in the world, still visible glowing above the rooftops after dark. Charles Bridge, lined with 30 Baroque statues, connects the old town to the lesser quarter and fills every morning with street musicians and early sunlight. The astronomical clock in Old Town Square has marked the hours since 1410, its intricate dial still drawing crowds on the top of every hour. Narrow cobblestone lanes wind through neighborhoods barely touched by modern development, giving Prague a fairy tale quality that few European capitals still hold on to. Often called the City of 100 Spires, Prague genuinely earns that nickname the moment its skyline comes into view. Number 12 is the Lofoten Islands, a jagged chain of peaks rising almost vertically out of the Norwegian Sea, far above the Arctic Circle. The scenery here feels almost exaggerated. Fishermen have worked these waters for over 1,000 years, and the same wooden rorbu cabins they once lived in now welcome curious travelers. Tiny fishing villages like Rain and Hamnoy sit on stilts above the fjords, their red and yellow cabins framed against sheer granite cliffs. In summer, the midnight sun never fully sets, bathing the mountains in golden light at hours when most of the world is asleep. Winter flips the script entirely, bringing long polar nights and some of the best northern lights viewing anywhere on the planet. Cod drying racks still line the shoreline in many villages, a centuries-old fishing tradition that continues right alongside the tourism boom. Few places pack this much drama into such a small area, mountains, sea, and tiny villages all colliding at once. Number 11 is Neuschwanstein Castle, the fairy tale fortress in the Bavarian Alps that famously inspired Disney's own Sleeping Beauty castle. It looks almost too perfect to be real. More than 1 million visitors climb the hill to see it every single year, making it one of the most photographed castles anywhere on Earth. King Ludwig II commissioned the castle in the 1860s as a private retreat, though he lived there for barely 6 months before his death. The castle rises from a rocky outcrop above the Polet Gorge, surrounded by dense forest and framed by the jagged Bavarian Alps behind it. Nearby, the Marienbrücke Bridge offers the single best photo angle, suspended right over the gorge with the entire castle facade filling the view. Inside, elaborate murals depict Germanic legends across nearly every wall, a private fantasy world Ludwig built almost entirely for himself. Snow dusts the towers most of the year, turning an already dreamlike castle into something straight out of a storybook. Number 10 is Dubrovnik, a walled Adriatic city so cinematic it became a filming location for King's Landing in a certain famous television series. The old town glows amber at sunset. Long before television crews arrived, Lord Byron himself once called this walled city the Pearl of the Adriatic, a nickname that has simply never faded. Massive stone walls nearly 1.25 miles around still fully encircle the old town and can be walked in their entirety for sweeping sea views. Below the walls, the Adriatic Sea glows an impossibly deep turquoise blue, drawing swimmers and boat tours right up against the fortifications. A cable car climbs Mount Sur just outside the walls, delivering a bird's-eye view over the entire terracotta rooftop skyline below. Baroque churches, marble streets, and centuries-old fountains fill the compact old town, all of it easily explored on foot in a single afternoon. Dubrovnik earned the nickname Pearl of the Adriatic centuries before any film crew arrived, and it still lives up to the title today. Number 9 is Lauterbrunnen, a Swiss valley so steep-sided that 72 waterfalls pour off its cliffs, more than almost anywhere else in Europe. The valley's sheer walls were carved by glaciers during the last ice age, leaving behind the U-shaped trench that funnels all 72 waterfalls. Staubbach. Falls drops nearly 900 feet in a single misty plunge right beside the village, close enough to reach on foot from the main street. Above the valley, the car-free village of Mürren offers uninterrupted views of the Eiger, Monk, and Jungfrau, 3 of the most famous peaks in the Alps. A cable car and cogwheel train climb to the Schilthorn summit, its revolving restaurant offering a full 360-degree view of the surrounding glaciers. J.R.R. Tolkien reportedly drew inspiration for Rivendell after visiting this exact valley, and standing here, that connection is instantly believable. Green meadows, wooden chalets, and constant waterfall mist make Lauterbrunnen one of the most striking valleys in the entire Alps. Number 8 is Plitvice Lakes, a national park where 16 terraced lakes cascade into one another through a network of waterfalls and travertine dams. The water glows an unreal turquoise. 16 interconnected lakes shift color throughout the day, cycling through turquoise, green, and deep blue, depending entirely on mineral content and the angle of the sun. Wooden boardwalks wind directly across and above the water, letting visitors walk within inches of the falls without ever getting wet. The travertine barriers separating each lake are still actively forming today, built slowly from mineral deposits and moss over thousands of years. Dense beech and fir forest surrounds the entire park, home to wolves, bears, and deer that rarely show themselves to visitors. Autumn turns the surrounding hillsides deep red and gold, doubling the color show against water that never quite loses its blue-green glow. Plitvice proves that Croatia's beauty extends far beyond its famous coastline, deep into forested, waterfall-filled interior. Number 7 is Hallstatt, a lakeside Austrian village so picturesque that a full-scale replica of it was built in China. The original, however, cannot be copied. Archaeologists have uncovered salt mining tools here dating back over 7,000 years, making this one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements in all of Europe. Pastel houses stack up a steep hillside directly above Lake Hallstatt, with the Dachstein Alps rising sharply behind them. The reflection on a calm morning doubles the entire scene. The village sits atop one of the world's oldest salt mines, still active after more than 7,000 years of continuous operation. A funicular climbs to the skywalk viewing platform, jutting out over the village for a dizzying view straight down onto the rooftops and lake below. We are now 2/3 through this list, and every remaining pick from here to number 1 is an absolute showstopper. Hallstatt somehow gets more beautiful with every angle, whether from the water, the hillside, or straight down from that famous skywalk. Number 6 is Jökulsárlón, a glacial lagoon in southeast Iceland filled with icebergs that have calved off the Vatnajökull glacier and drift slowly out to sea. The lagoon did not even exist a century ago, formed only as the retreating glacier carved out this basin, now one of Iceland's most photographed sights. Chunks of blue and white ice float past seals resting calmly on the water, occasionally rolling over to reveal even deeper shades of glacial blue. Just across the road, Diamond Beach scatters smaller ice chunks across black volcanic sand, glittering like glass against the dark shoreline. The lagoon has grown dramatically larger over recent decades as the glacier feeding it continues retreating, a striking and sobering reminder of a changing climate. Winter brings a chance at the northern lights dancing directly over the floating ice, a combination found in very few places on Earth. Few landscapes feel this otherworldly glacier, ocean, and ice all colliding in one quiet Icelandic bay. Number 5 is the Cinque Terre, 5 pastel fishing villages clinging to the cliffs of the Italian Riviera, connected by centuries-old footpaths carved into the rock. UNESCO named the entire coastline a World Heritage Site, protecting both the villages and the centuries-old terraced vineyards that climb the cliffs above them. Manarola and Vernazza are the most photographed of the 5, their colorful houses stacked above tiny harbors where fishing boats still bob at anchor. Terraced vineyards climb the steep hillsides between villages, producing the local wine that has sustained this coastline for well over 1,000 years. The Sentiero Azzurro, or Blue Trail, links all 5 villages along dramatic sea cliffs, though sections occasionally close after landslides reshape the path. No cars are allowed within most of the villages, leaving only footpaths, train tracks, and boats to move between them, which only adds to the charm. Sunset paints the pastel buildings in deep gold, and the Ligurian sea below turns almost impossibly blue. Number 4 is Paris, the City of Light, where wide boulevards, grand museums, and the Eiffel Tower have defined romantic travel for well over a century. More than 30 million visitors pass through the city every single year, drawn by the exact same blend of art, architecture, and romance that has pulled travelers here for generations. The Eiffel Tower still sparkles for 5 minutes on the hour after dark, a nightly tradition that draws crowds along the Seine every single evening. The Seine River winds through the entire city, past Notre Dame, the Louvre, and dozens of stone bridges built across 7 centuries. Montmartre's hillside streets and the white-domed Sacré-Cœur offer the best rooftop view in the city, especially just as the sun begins to set. The Louvre alone holds over 35,000 works of art, housed inside a former royal palace beneath its glass pyramid entrance. Paris earns its reputation one boulevard, one bridge, and one golden hour at a time, and it rarely disappoints. Number 3 is Venice, a city built entirely on water, its canals replacing streets across more than 100 small islands linked by nearly 400 bridges. The entire city is slowly sinking, just a few millimeters each year, which only adds urgency to any visit before the lagoon reclaims a little more of it. Gondolas glide silently past centuries-old palazzos along the Grand Canal, the main waterway that curves like a backwards letter S through the heart of the city. St. Mark's Square, framed by the ornate basilica and its soaring bell tower, floods gently at high tide, an event locals simply call Acqua Alta. The nearby island of Burano bursts with brightly painted houses in nearly every color, a favorite subject for photographers visiting from the main city. No cars, no roads, only boats and footbridges connect every corner of Venice, making it unlike any other city left on Earth. Mist over the canals at dawn before the crowds arrive might be the single most magical hour Venice has to offer. Number 2 is Santorini, the Greek island shaped by an ancient volcanic eruption, its white and blue domed villages perched along the rim of a massive caldera. The volcanic eruption that shaped this island around 3,600 years ago may even be the origin of the ancient legend of Atlantis. Oia, on the island's northern tip, is famous for the single most photographed sunset in the entire Mediterranean, drawing crowds to its cliffside pathways every evening. Whitewashed houses cascade down the caldera cliffs in tight, stacked layers, their blue-domed churches standing out sharply against the volcanic rock. Below the cliffs, the caldera itself still holds an active volcanic island, a quiet reminder of the eruption that shaped this dramatic coastline nearly 3,600 years ago. Black and red sand beaches, remnants of that same volcanic history, line the island's southern coast, in striking contrast to the whitewashed villages above. Few places on Earth combine geology and beauty quite this dramatically, which is exactly why Santorini so rarely misses a beautiful places list. Number 1, our pick for the most beautiful place in all of Europe is the Amalfi Coast, a stretch of Italian coastline where pastel villages tumble down cliffs straight into the Tyrrhenian Sea. UNESCO protects this entire coastline as a World Heritage Site, recognizing both its natural beauty and centuries of terraced farming carved directly into the cliffs. Positano is the coast's most iconic village, its lemon-colored houses stacked so steeply that nearly every street becomes a staircase toward the water. The coastal road linking the villages is one of the most scenic and hair-raising drives in the world, hugging cliffs with the sea dropping away just feet from the pavement. Ravello, perched higher above the coast, offers sweeping panoramic views from clifftop gardens that have inspired composers and writers for well over a century. Lemon groves terrace, the hillsides everywhere, their fruit famously turned into limoncello, a tradition tied directly to this coastline for generations. From its cliffside villages to its impossibly blue water, the Amalfi Coast closes out this list exactly the way a countdown of Europe's most beautiful places should. So there you have it, the 20 most beautiful places in Europe for 2026. Every single one of them belongs on a serious travel bucket list. Now we would love to know, which of these 20 places would you visit first? Let us know down in the comments below. We read every single one. If this journey inspired your next adventure, please like and subscribe for more relaxing travel guides just like this one. It genuinely helps our small channel keep growing. Thank you so much for watching. And aloha from Kahana Designs here in Hawaii. Until next time, safe travels and sweet dreams.